Steve Phobos was kind of a dick, but he knew that there were other people who were dicks as well, like his supposed wife that didn't really want to have him, even though he rescued her. She was just an apprentice. She should have been happy to have such a great white knight for her husband. But after Steve proposed to her, she told him to, well, let's just use the words poop off. Because he was picking poop for her. Or at least, he was picking the soil for poop. For her kittens. Even though Steve was quite sure by now there was no kittens around. There was no kittens. He liked kittens. But he decided, you know what? People told me I should murder some bigger cats, get their pelts, and we could make a nice armor. Steve wasn't quite sure why those people from the village wanted to have those kittens dead, why they wanted him to do it, even though there seemed to be many capable warriors around that village. But hey, said Steve, what could possibly go wrong if he murdered a couple of kittens and get a couple of pelts? There could be nothing wrong with that. Even though he cried a little inside every time he had to murder one of those. Just a little though. Steve wasn't a pussy. Even though some people thought it would be proper to call him that, he wasn't. He was a proper man, learned in the ways of the warrior. At least that's what he thought at that point. But his story was not quite finished. He had a long journey ahead of him, and he had no idea what lied ahead of him. No idea whatsoever. But he decided, you know what would be a good idea? To actually check the map and see where those spring paws were around. Because by some weird magical design, there were people who showed him how to mark stuff on his map. He heard it was called painting, although he wasn't quite sure that was the proper word. But he used the word when he was talking to other quest givers, as they called themselves. They were a group of weird people who stood around the world doing nothing most of the time and just telling other people what they should do for them, and then giving them a couple of silver coins, maybe a couple of gold coins, depended on how dangerous the mission might seem. Steve decided it's a good idea as any. He hadn't had any work since that time he burned some hair off a lady when he was doing his styling. He thought that he was a great stylist, even though not everyone was quite so certain about it. Not everyone agreed with him. But he decided he's gonna go out in the world. He's gonna show everyone how good of a stylist he is when he can chop hair with an axe. His father's axe. His father, who's supposed to be a mage, but he had an axe. Couldn't do much with an axe, so he gave it to Steve. He said, son, you should have this axe. And I don't care if you're a stylist. My mother, your mother and I, we decided you should go out in the world, meet some weird people, and see the ways of the world, how they truly are. And you will see that even though there's some people who try to hurl magical fireballs at your foes, you don't trust them. Never should you trust them. Said Steve, okay, that's completely fine with me. I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna find some cargo. Because I hear that Captain Calisandra lost it in a Murloc village of all kinds. Sure, said Steve, that seems like a great idea. Let's go to a Murloc village and see if we can find some stuff. He was always afraid of Murlocs. As a little kid, people told stories of Murlocs that came from the seas and took cargo from captains who were not careful enough. And even though Steve thought about becoming a captain when he was of young age, that was one of the stories that decided it for him. He'd rather be a stylist. He'd rather go out in the world and chop some hair with his axe. He found Captain Calyssandra and something that belonged to dear Captain. And when he saw more people go around killing everything, he decided, you know what? I'm gonna go out there as well. I'm gonna get the cargo, kill a Captain Murgo, and just basically have some fun. That's what he decided. He's gonna have some fun. He's gonna find some kittens. He's gonna take their pelts. He's gonna have fun with those as well. Because that's what this was all about, right? Having fun? Steve wasn't quite sure if that was really the case, as he got lost in the mountains. He thought maybe it was just fun for him, but just maybe it wasn't so fun. It wasn't so fun for the little kittens that lost their lives, or other blood elves that wanted to take the armaments that he was looking for. He was quite mad because they were taking his armaments and no one was leaving any of those behind. But he was, well, he said, I'm gonna go and gonna do this quest that this weird people told me to do. It shouldn't be too hard, right? There should be a lot of armaments lying around. And Koak, his friend Koak, said, you know what, Steve? Just be patient. Just run around and I'm sure you will find many fine armaments lying in quite not properly positioned boxes. Because if there's something in this weird living room or whatever this is, said Steve, there's many boxes of armaments. They belong here. They certainly belong here. Indeed. So he wanted to talk with his hooligans and thugs that were just standing around, saying how hungry they are, how they wanna feed. Wasn't quite sure if they wanted to feed on him. He wouldn't really be fine with them feeding on him. He would rather he fed on them with his axe. That felt like a good idea. Even though he said to himself quite sometimes that he needs to target something first. He had things targeted. And he said, you know what? Maybe I just killed someone that I might need to come back and kill in another second. But surely that could not happen in this world. Surely things did not respawn, and that was the greatest sprint of a year 2000 and something that Steve ever did. He has never seen such a sprint before, but he managed to do it himself. Even Koak was amazed. He said, you know what, Steve? Not even I, who am level 110, have seen such sprints this last couple of days, weeks, years, since the Legion came and destroyed this world. Steve said, what? The Legion came? Where this Legion you're talking about, Koak? Koak said, never mind, son. That's still far away for you. It's still very, very far away. Steve said, you know what, Koak? I'm gonna just have you right around this weird place. We're gonna look for some boxes. And maybe at some point we're gonna find them. We have killed so many of these rat hooligans. And we can just drive through them and let them have you just drive around. And not care if we hit them or if they hit us. It's never a problem, never an issue, said Steve, as he found... Why is there a night elf priest there? Said Steve, as he was confused and then realized that this must be some kind of transformation toy that this lady was using. Said, you know what, it's fine. I don't necessarily need all these boxes, even though it would be really nice to have them. But maybe at this point in time, these boxes are not here to spawn, because there's too many other blood elves running around. And surely there's a better place when one such as Steve could find some boxes, or anything resembling a box. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna kill my last hooligan for today. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna speak to these people, I'm gonna tell them nicely, you know what, lady, you know what, sir, there's not enough boxes to go around. We had so many people going for those boxes that there's at least, I don't know, 20, Steve said? 20 people giving you boxes. And if you want everyone to bring you 8 or 10 boxes, something like that, that would be power overwhelming, said Steve, as he learned the ways of the arms. He decided he's gonna wield a mighty axe and strike foes with his axe. Called it Mortal Strike. The strike of the mortals, said Steve, as the ladies told him to go back to find some boxes. And maybe at some point, said Steve, I'm actually gonna do it. I'm actually gonna do it.